The air felt heavy that chilly morning in February 2023 when I stood frozen, staring at the wreckage of my family's bridge in Willow Creek, Oregon. Half of it gone. Just a pile of shattered stones scattered in the shallow water below, like broken promises. My legs shook under my old flannel robe as I clutched a chipped coffee mug, the same one I'd held every dawn for decades on that very bridge. This wasn't just stone and mortar. It was where I'd asked my wife, Emily, to marry me under a frost-kissed sunrise, where we'd shared countless evenings watching the sky burn gold, where she'd whispered her final stories before cancer stole her away. Built by my grandfather in 1918, that bridge was my anchor, my history, my heart. And now, a crisp notice pinned to the jagged remains stabbed me deeper than any blade. Structure removed for safety violations per HOA emergency authority. They'd gutted my soul while I slept. But as I knelt, hands trembling, sifting through the debris, something gleamed, a small brass plate, hidden for decades, etched with coordinates and a date, 1955. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a relic. It was a secret my grandfather had buried, and it was about to unravel everything. For years, I'd lived quietly by Willow Creek, finding solace in routine after losing Emily. Mornings meant coffee on the bridge, evenings meant reading there, her memory woven into every stone. Then, Victoria Langston stormed into town like a wildfire in a tailored suit, her eyes glittering with ambition and something darker. Her project, Crestwood Heights, promised 12 waterfront estates, each priced at $5 million, transforming our sleepy town into a playground for the elite. I'd watch from my bridge as cranes and bulldozers reshaped the horizon, assuming it was just another rich folks' scheme. The noise grated, but I figured it'd pass. I didn't know I was staring at the opening move in a war rooted in a 60-year grudge, or that Victoria had a personal score to settle with my family. It started at a town hall meeting in the spring of 2022. Victoria stepped out of a sleek black Mercedes, her $6,000 Armani blazer screaming power, flanked by assistants juggling tablets and briefcases. Her presentation was a masterclass in persuasion-polished slides, economic forecasts, promises of soaring property values. But when she locked eyes with me and called my bridge an obstacle to progress, a chill slithered down my spine. She knew my story widowed, scraping by on a pension, raw from Emily's loss. She'd done her homework, and I was her target. Then there was Ethan Caldwell, her bumbling sidekick, a 30-year-old wannabe influencer with a failed NFT hustle, filming everything with a cheap ring light, his business cards screaming strategic visionary despite living in his mom's basement. His knockoff Gucci tracksuit and self-important swagger would have been comical if he weren't part of this nightmare. After the meeting, I overheard a whisper that should have screamed trouble. An old-timer asked Victoria, "Weren't your folks tied to the old chemical plant here decades ago?" Her face turned to stone, her voice ice. "That's ancient history. We're about the future." It was like she was burying something, not building. That night, I found a survey staked 6 inches from my bridge, tagged Langston Development, Demolition Assessment. My hands shook. This wasn't just HOA bullying, it was a calculated attack on my family's legacy. The next morning, February 17th, 2023, I walked my usual path and found half my bridge obliterated. Chunks of stone littered the creek, a century of craftsmanship reduced to rubble. The notice claimed safety violations, demanding permits within 48 hours or total demolition. I was gutted, but that brass plate in the debris coordinates, 1955, hinted at something bigger. I didn't know then it was my grandfather's trap, set decades ago to spring when his family needed it most. I tried fighting back the only ways I knew. The police called it a civil matter. A lawyer, charging $300 an hour, warned that fighting an HOA could cost $120,000 in years, with slim odds against Victoria's legal machine. My insurance agent laughed, insuring a century-old bridge would have cost $9,000 a year, if anyone would even touch it. Every door slammed shut, and with $72,000 in savings and $450,000 from Emily's life insurance money I'd sworn never to touch, I faced bankruptcy to save what was left. Victoria's team piled on, a $90,000 demolition bill, a sham engineering report citing stress fractures, and endless legal threats about code violations. Ethan even showed up in a thrift store hard hat, snapping 80 photos of my property, poking stones with a stick, and posting captions like safeguarding our future. It was insulting, but it fueled my fire. Then came Walter Grayson, a 70-year-old retired paralegal I met at a diner, muttering to myself about the mess. He'd spent 40 years battling property disputes and offered to dig through county records with me. Legal fights are like digging for treasure, he said. You just need to go deeper than they did. The records office was a maze of dusty files, open only 3 days a week. I was an engineer, not a lawyer. Water systems made sense, but legal jargon was torture. Walter translated, guiding me through deeds and charters. We found my grandfather's 1918 deed, predating the town's founding, and a 1949 landmark designation for the bridge. But the real bombshell was a 1955 federal contract tied to a dam project. My grandfather had traded land rights for a clause. Our family could buy the Willow Creek Dam for $1 plus market value if it ever changed hands. Walter's eyes gleamed. Your grandfather wasn't just clever, James. He was a genius playing chess across generations. The dam was owned by a shell company tied to Victoria's empire, and she didn't even know it. I used $500,000 Emily's insurance, and my savings to buy it for $475,000. The day I signed the papers, I felt both empowered and terrified. As the new dam owner, I ordered a safety inspection, lowering water levels. Within days, Victoria's pristine waterfront turned to mud, her $60 million project crumbling. She panicked, her lawyers scrambling to void the 1955 contract, but federal law held firm. Then things got ugly. Ethan tried sabotaging my bridge at 3 a.m., caught on my new security cameras slipping in mud, screaming when sprinklers hit him, and fleeing minus one $900 sneaker. The footage was gold, but the real shock came that night. An envelope slid under my door with a 1955 photo of the creek bed before the dam littered with barrels, machinery, and a concrete structure labeled Langston Chemical 1952. My engineering brain kicked into overdrive. This was no ordinary dump. It was a massive environmental crime, buried under the lake my grandfather helped create. Walter's research confirmed it. Victoria's grandfather ran Langston Chemical, dumping toxic solvents illegally from 1950 to 1955. The dam project hit it all, and my grandfather had been paid $60,000 to stay quiet. But he'd embedded that purchase clause as a failsafe, knowing the truth might surface. Victoria wasn't building mansions, she was guarding a secret that could ruin her family. I contacted the EPA, showing them the photo. Water tests revealed benzene 500 times safe limits, lead, and banned chemicals linked to cancer. The FBI launched a criminal probe, draining the lake to expose the toxic wasteland. Media swarmed, hashtags like Creek Truth trended, and protesters demanded justice. Victoria's threats escalated $10 million offers, private investigators tailing me, break-ins leaving my home subtly violated. A chilling note on my pillow read, "Some secrets should stay buried, Mr. Harper." They'd even bugged my house, recording my grief over Emily to exploit my pain. Her grand opening on August 15, 2023, was a disaster. Hazmat teams worked beside her $250,000 catering setup, FBI agents questioned guests, and helicopters broadcasted the toxic swamp where her mansion stood. Victoria, defiant in her Armani, offered $20 million for the dam. When I didn't bite, she snapped, screaming about my selfish bridge ruining her vision. I took the microphone, heart pounding, and told the truth. My grandfather helped hide Langston Chemical's crimes for $60,000, but he built a way for us to expose it. You destroyed my bridge, Victoria, to bury your family's sins. The crowd gasped as I read the EPA report: lethal contamination, decades of harm. Victoria, waist-deep in toxic mud from chasing me, claimed she wasn't responsible for her grandfather's actions. But FBI agents cuffed her, charging her with conspiracy, fraud, and environmental crimes. 6 months later, Victoria got 32 months in prison and $25 million in fines. Her company collapsed. Mansions sold for $1.5 million each to remediation firms. I kept the dam, overseeing a slow cleanup as wildlife returned. Emily's garden now blooms where our bridge stood, a plaque reading "Forever Ours." My grandfather wasn't the hero I thought, but his flawed redemption gave me the power to right a wrong. As I watch the creek's waters rise, I know justice isn't about revenge, it's about truth, even when it burns. What would you do if you found out your family's legacy was tied to a crime? Would you expose it, even if it meant losing everything you thought you knew? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story hit you hard, and subscribe for more tales of ordinary folks fighting impossible odds. What secrets are buried in your town?